Hi there, it's Ashley. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for stopping by. During our visits together, I hope to empower and encourage you to get up every time you get knocked down and to live each day with joy and hope for the future. No matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe or don't believe, or what you look like, you can do it. You can have a full, happy, satisfying life, and you are always welcome here. The holidays are supposed to be a time of joy and celebration, but if you're grieving any kind of loss, the loss of a loved one, whether that be due to death, divorce, a breakup, or being a caregiver who's watching the person that you love disappear mentally a little bit each day, or if you're grieving the loss of a job, a friendship that you thought would last forever, but that person turned their back on you, or the loss of a dream that you thought would come to pass. You know, the holidays can be a huge source of pain and suffering, but we all can find some hope in the shadows of grief. I wanted to do a video about getting through the grief and finding hope in the most hopeless of situations. Today is Christmas Eve here. I'm in the United States. You know, I'm not a mental health professional. I don't have any training in this stuff. I'm just a regular person who's lived through a lot of suffering and loss and pain like most people have. You know, I'm just one of those regular people who I'm sure a lot of you have those super dark times that you don't think will ever end, and you don't think the light will ever come back. And you feel like the only friend that you have is loneliness. It can be a really terrible time of year for a lot of people, even though it's supposed to be a moment of celebration. To give you a little background on myself and why I think I have the right to talk about these things today, I was a caregiver for both of my parents over the course of about 14 years. I moved back home to help my mom take care of my dad. He had Parkinson's disease, chronic myeloid leukemia, and ultimately he had Lewy body dementia. Mom and I, we took care of my dad for 8 years. Then she was diagnosed with cancer. And then I took care of both parents at the same time for 3 years until my dad died. And then I took care of my mom for 3 years as well before she died. I'm an only child. I have a very small extended family. I took care of my mom and dad because they were wonderful parents. I had an incredibly happy childhood. I was really lucky. I also did it because I'm a Christian, and one of the commandments is to honor your mother and father. So I did that. And, my dad also taught me that about honoring your parents through example, by taking care of his father later in his father's life when he was suffering and dying. After my dad was put through so much emotional and physical abuse by his father growing up, and he had a terrible childhood, but he showed love and taught me how to do that. It's been almost 3 years since my mom died, and it feels like it happened yesterday. I have no one else to care for now. I'm finally coming out of the fog of depression and anger and grief. Don't let anyone tell you that you have to slap a timeline on grieving. People did that to me, and I know that they were only saying that out of concern for me, but it really didn't help anything. It kind of made things worse. My mom always said that, the depth of the grief that we have for someone who has died is a good indicator of how much we love them. And I've really found that to be very true. So if people try to, give you a timeline for grieving, just remember that they do care. But don't feel pressured, to jump ahead when you need to go through things, but also don't get too far down into the pit. Reach out and let people help you. This time of year, the holidays, Christmas and New Year's is, it's just really terrible for me. The last couple of years, my dad died in February, about 6 years ago. And when he passed, he was ready to go. He was ready to die. He had been ill for so long and suffered so much that he was ready. It was very different when my mom died. She was just not ready to go when she died. She was still fighting and angry, and I think that's why the pivotal dates concerning my mom affect me a lot more than the ones concerning my dad. My mom, she got sick, really sick over Christmas in 2021. She was admitted to the hospital December 27th of that year, and she came home into hospice care with me on New Year's Eve. She died January 4th. When she passed, the Christmas tree was still up. Presents were still unopened under the tree. For many years, my parents and I would celebrate holidays, birthdays, anniversaries on other days than the actual day. If one of them wasn't feeling well, that way they could both enjoy the day and the celebration. So, the year mom died, she wanted to celebrate Christmas when she felt better. She wanted to, just wait a little bit, which was fine. We'd done that a lot. She and I had, and she and my dad and I had, but unfortunately that never happened. We never got to celebrate Christmas that year, and the sight of a decorated Christmas tree with wrapped presents surrounding it, presents for her that she would never open, was just a horrible sight. It was, and it still is one of just the absolute most depressing things I think I've ever seen. When I went to prepare this message, I just started to cry writing this part. It was still really fresh. It was kind of shocking that it's been 3 years and it still felt like that. It's still a painful memory. It feels like yesterday, but I'm making an effort to get unstuck and get out of the deep well of grief and suffering. And I wanted to do this message because I know a lot of you out there are in the same place. Maybe not with someone passing, but with anything, There's so many things in life we have to grieve over when they happen, when they don't happen, when they didn't turn out like we thought they would. And I hope that you will join me on this journey and find a way that you can get unstuck too, and that you can move forward from grief and find a way to be happy again, to let the light in and have a new life. I know what I'm about to say will be incredibly hard to do, and you are probably going to say, no way, no, whenever you hear it, whenever I say it, because, I said the same thing to people who told me this, but you really should let someone in who loves you and who cares about you. A friend, a relative, somebody, who gets you, try to spend time with them, even if it's just a phone call. I say that because I'm doing that for the very first time after my parents' deaths. Tomorrow for Christmas Day, I'm going to spend time with a dear friend and her family. She's like a sister to me. She and her sister take care of their mom. And she gets me, her family gets me. They understand what it's like. She gets being a caregiver, and she was very kind. She said, if I'm at the house and I start to have a breakdown and cry, I need to leave, I should just go. Nobody's going to be upset or question me about it. It's a safe space for me to be while I will be in what I'm sure is a very emotionally difficult place and moment. And I want you out there who are suffering to try and find a safe space where you can be, and let the people that care about you do that. Let them care about you. If you're not dealing with grief, try to reach out to someone who is. Try to help someone else. If you're not suffering through grief and loss, but you feel comfortable doing it, ask someone to spend the holiday with you and your family, or to just stop by for a little while and visit. Like me, they may have had to give up having a family of their own. They give up maybe getting married or having their own lives so they could take care of and protect the people that they love. Maybe offer to talk with them on the phone. No pressure, just, let them know that you care and that their pain and grief is seen and heard. That they're acknowledged in their struggle. I think, at least in my experience, grief is very isolating, and it can make you feel invisible. It feels like loneliness is your only friend sometimes in that darkness. And I think it's easy for others who look at you to see scars and wounds, physical damage. But the emotional scars and wounds can't be seen. And a lot of us wear masks and act like everything is fine when it's not fine. When we're in tremendous pain and we're suffering and we hide it. Even if someone who isn't suffering through the death of a loved one, they may be dealing with the loss of a spouse through divorce, the loss of the life that they thought they would have, with that person who died or the person who walked out. They may be suffering watching their loved one who they currently take care of mentally disappear just a little more each day because of dementia. I dealt with that concerning my dad. When he had Lewy body dementia towards the end of his life. You see someone physically, but you know that you're losing them a little bit every day. And, you grieve that. Maybe someone, I've been through this, maybe someone may have lost friends or family who turned their backs on them during a legal battle that they were in, and they should have been supporting them and loving them unconditionally. And they didn't. They should have believed in that person. They should have believed in you, and they should have stood by you. And, they abandoned you when you were in the most vulnerable time of your life. I experienced that when I was 19. I think I talked about that in my very first video that I posted when I was arrested and falsely accused. And it was grief, when people you thought loved you and cared about you would do that and turn their backs on you. But then, you also find out who loves you because of the people who are still there when the dust settles. And, it can be a good thing too. I think, for me as well, grief can be the loss of a job or a career, the loss, of the life that maybe someone had before they got incredibly sick or they had a terrible accident. And now there's this new life that they have to live, an unwelcome one. Loss comes in so many forms, in big things, in little things. And sometimes, those little things, they can be so much worse than the big ones. I know giving people your time and attention is sometimes difficult, but it's, it can be hard, and it will almost always be inconvenient, but it will be worth the extra effort and time. Creating this video is very difficult for me because, it's opening myself up and being vulnerable and remembering all of the hard, terrible things that I dealt with concerning being a caregiver for my parents. If you can help someone that to find a safe space to heal and to get better, if you can. If not, maybe say a prayer for them, or, whatever that would mean for you if you're an atheist or if you don't have any spiritual beliefs, And, if you have been suffering in any way and for any reason, know that you are not alone. You're not. I understand suffering from my own journey, and I know that a lot of other people understand that too. And, if you need professional help, please get it. Please, please, please get it. There is no shame in needing help. There's no shame for asking for it. We all need help with something at some time, in our lives. Call your doctor or a friend and ask for help. If you need it, don't suffer in silence. Reach out. Google about getting help with depression and grief, maybe. When I did that, I found a lot of resources, even online therapy. I know it can be hard to ask for help. I really do know. But remember that it is an act of courage to do that. It is an act of courage to ask for help. And you can find a safe space to heal yourself. You can get better. Get the tools that you need, and you can make yourself proud of overcoming and surviving and then flourishing. I know that you can do it. I believe in you. You need to believe that you can do it too. I think that the holidays this time of year are incredibly difficult, even if you aren't religious or Christian. even if you're an atheist or if you don't have any spiritual beliefs. Because, I mean, at least in the United States, you can't go anywhere, during this time of year without seeing Christmas stuff and yay for the holidays and it's time for family and whatnot. Ugh, it can be really difficult to navigate this time of year because it can really remind us of what we've lost. We need to all be there for each other and love each other through these difficult and painful times. I know that you can find hope again in the shadows of grief. I know that you can find a new life with light, with happiness, with hope. Grief is like a dark cloud and it blocks out the sun. We have to figure out how to navigate the journey of grief so that we can step out of its shadows and feel that light again. Feel the warmth and the sunshine. Feel love again. Feel happiness again. Feel joy again. Peace. Knowing that we survived, that we overcame, that we persevered. Press in and press on into your new future and life after grief. Grab hold of hope and don't let it go. I'm doing that myself now, as you know, and I hope that you will take that journey too. And, I may not know you personally, but I love you all, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you believe or don't believe, or what you look like. And I know that my dad, who taught me about the value of being human, the value of love, loves you all too. He said that you can never say, I love you enough. He didn't hear it growing up, so he said it to everyone. And I know if he was still here, he would say it to you. As my favorite quote reads by Johann Wolfgang von Goethe, what is my life if I am no longer useful to others? I hope that I've been useful to you today. I really do. And I hope that you will make the effort to find hope in the shadows of grief and step out into the sunshine once again, to find a new life full of hope, full of light. And please get professional help if you need it. There is no shame in that. Remember that it is a courageous act, not a weak one. And remember that no matter how difficult life gets, we all can get through it and take this journey together. Thank you very much for visiting. I will see you again soon.